Well, hello again. Welcome back to the Jankity-Ass Podcast. Episode number 3 is... Motherfucker, hold on. Oh. Sorry about that. I left the cable in front of the camera. I know that won't bother anybody who's just listening, but for those of you looking on YouTube, it could be annoying. Alright, much better. Welcome back again to the closet and the podcast. This one's going to be a little bit shorter this week. Today, we talked, well, not today, actually, it was another day for me, but this time we talked about, old fast food and malls back in the day. And there was a couple other things, but I don't completely remember. One of the reasons that I actually started doing this podcast is because I never really been much of a public speaker or, well, even a speaker in general. You know what I mean? So this is kind of like a bit of a personal exercise. And also I'm hoping it ends up being a way to make money. But who knows? But yeah, not being much of a speaker, it's, well, I usually write down, what I want to talk about, but sometimes I don't get around to it, and sometimes I even forget what I was planning to say. Like I failed to mention the last time I was recording, that I managed to bust up my shin on a coffee table. I left a nice big old gash, which for the most part isn't too bad, but the thing that really sucked about it is I just I decided I was gonna start using what the fuck are these things called, like thermal tights, for exercising. And the ones I got, the ones that came in the mail first were bright white, and, well, that wouldn't be a good look if they had blood all over them. Also, that shit really, really hurts. Like, it's kind of weird to me. Like, I don't know if you ever see, like, movies where, people get injured or something like that, and they're just like, oh, whatever. Like, bro, have you not banged your shin before? This time, it wasn't the worst that I'd ever had, but I mean, your whole leg is just in shock for a while, I remember back when I was in college, I used to work setting up at the student centers for different events and such, and I was pushing along. We had these new podiums that we had gotten. They were like nice, big old wooden ones that had wheels and such. And I was pushing one of these things down the hallway, and the front wheels caught, and the whole thing tilted forward and stopped as I was walking, and I slammed the same leg, actually, my left one, into it, and I nearly threw up on the spot. It wasn't even really that painful right away. It was just a shock, But, sorry, I'm also under a staircase, so I can hear people walking up and down every once in a while. But, yeah. So anyways, hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Oh, and also I talked about this during this last segment here too, or upcoming segment. If you like beer like I do, go ahead and check out Belching Beaver, or at Belching Beaver on Instagram. And yeah, stay cool, stay safe. Alright, what's up, Closeteers? Got another episode going on here. How are you guys all doing? Well, obviously I can't hear how you're doing here, but like I said earlier in the last episode, we got a Instagram page up now. Just look for the Jankity-Ass Podcast on Instagram. go ahead and leave some DMs or, some comments on the posts that I put up. And if they're cool, I'll read them. Also, if they're shit, I'll read them too. And I'll announce them here. Also, I'm not going to do the anonymous thing. So if you want your post to be anonymous, don't post it. It's kind of like the old, if you have nothing nice to say, then don't say it. Well, which I don't care if it's not nice or not. Just, say it. Get out there. So yeah, I'm still dealing with this whole quarantine bullshit. I just found out the other day, what was it? Actually yesterday, that it was extended into the middle of April now. And personally, I won't be surprised if it gets extended to the end of April. Yeah, it sucks. It's, and I'm trying to find different ways to make money. I'm hoping this turns into a way that I make money. It's gonna take a while though, so, well, I'll probably say this in the intro as well, but please go on to YouTube, like and subscribe. Go on to iTunes, like and subscribe. Leave some comments. Leave me some stars, preferably 5 stars, but I'll take 1 even. Let's see what I talked about. Oh yeah, and it's also passed here in Los Angeles and maybe California. California. That now, if you're caught outside without wearing some type of face mask or bandana, I guess you can be, if the cops catch you, I guess they could fine you like $1,000. Which, pardon my language again, but it's bullshit. That's just laws made. I feel like it's a law made out of fear. I don't know, whatever. There's nothing I can do about it. So, and I was like, I found out about this actually because I went down to the one of the liquor stores down the street because they're also one of the only places that still has TP, but they only let you buy 2 rolls at a time, and they don't have any paper towels. Fortunately, I'm good enough at the moment, so I didn't really have to resort to that yet. But I just wanted to go in and case the place and check it out. And speaking of liquor store, I also picked up some of this stuff. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it's a new flavor from the Belching Beaver Brewery. Which every once in a while I'll get their peanut butter stout. Which I like a good stout and I like a good brown ale. But this one's a little bit different. It's called Viva la Beaver. It's a Mexican chocolate peanut butter stout. Now it's not the it's not like the Mexican chili chocolate, but rather it's made with it says peanut butter, cinnamon, and coffee, and it's not bad. Also comes as a tall boy too, or only, I guess. It's a little on the expensive side because it's a 4-pack, but what do you do? Good beer is gonna cost you a bit more. I actually don't even really drink regular domestic beers anymore. I think part of that's just from living here in Los Angeles, where thanks beer. Part of that's just from living in Los Angeles, which is basically just it's a brewery hub. We got a lot of breweries down here, and craft beers are all the rage. A lot of bars are a lot of places are only craft beer, which is cool, but it also kind of sucks because I hate IPAs, and I would bet money that 50% of all craft beers are IPA. But then again, that makes my choice easy because I can just, knock half of those off the list. But going back to the masks, it's kind of annoying. Well, not annoying, but it's kind of interesting because now that we are forced to wear a mask, it's one of the first times that, my mom freaked out about something going on in the world, and she happened to be right on this one. So I'm sure some of you have been watching the news within the last few years. You always hear about LA's on fire every year. Well, it is. I mean, it gets dry out here during the summer, and different parts of the forest, especially up north in Northern California, which is more wooded and contains a lot of the nation's redwood forests. Parts of that catch on fire every once in a while. And we actually had a few fires last year that were actually pretty close to town. I know there was one kind of near Burbank, and after that one, that was the one time that I went out to go do, I think I was going to work or maybe to the gym or who knows what, and my car was completely covered in ash because we were pretty close by. It was, since Burbank and where I live are in the valley. But like I was saying, of course, my mom would freak out and call me every day like, "Are you on fire?" Like, fuck no. But she would always ask like, "Oh, do you need masks? Do you need eyewear?" And well, one day she just went ahead and sent me some of this stuff without asking. And now the first thing you need to know about that is my grandpa, who I never got to meet because he passed away before I was born, on my dad's side, was a scuba diver. And we're talking back in the 50s and 60s, when you just go out in the water and find stuff, I guess. But yeah, he was an avid scuba diver. And the way that ties into this story is one day, a package showed up from my mom. And I wasn't expecting it or anything like that. And I opened it up, and it's... So my mom thought that I needed, mouth gear, protective eyewear and breathing gear. So I had, which I just realized, I got a couple masks stowed away, but she sent my grandpa's old scuba diving mask, which is... it's like the old school ones where... It's literally just a big oval glass, and then the rubber parts along the outside are the the shitty orange rubber. So I got that sitting around, and well, obviously I don't wear it because A, it's heavy, and B, it's meant for going underwater, not a little bit of dust. And honestly, I'm afraid to take it out and really do anything with it because it's probably kind of fragile, even though it is just glass, and was made to take a few pounds of pressure underwater. But yeah, I don't know, the same thing's been coming up now with being in a virus lockdown. And well, like I said, I happened to find out about it whenever I went to the local liquor store, and well, they happened to have masks there, so I ended up picking up a few masks, like a 20-pack. And sorry, I was just checking my phone, but yeah, so I'm all set, and my mom was right for once. I guess even that happens every once in a while. And even though I do have a mask, I'm sure there'll still be something more that comes up that she'll give me grief about. But, that's what moms are for. I'd rather have my mom call me up every day rather than not. I'm sure most people can agree. I don't know if I said this before, but, I'm from a small town up in the Midwest. And, I grew up in that. When I was growing up, it was kind of like that magical time well, not really magical, but in those years, kind of before online shopping became a real thing, and before drive-thrus were even a real thing. One thing that sucks whenever I go home, especially more in middle America, you don't really have this doesn't really happen in, out here in the coast as much, but you go to the middle of the country and you go to like a mall or a fast food restaurant and they're always empty. And I don't know, for me that's always just kind of sad, because part of my childhood was my parents and I, every like once a week or something like that, we'd go out to have like a little family dinner out at Burger King or McDonald's, which I realize isn't, it's obviously not the best, wasn't healthy or anything like that, but we're talking about, a small town, Midwest, and it was family time, but I think I remember the last time that I went to, over to the McDonald's back home, I went in and like half of the seating area was completely empty, and half of it was even roped off, like, hey, we don't even bother using this. And I'm not sure, but I think that one might have been, or no, it was the Hardee's, which is next to McDonald's, but yeah, same thing. And for those of you out on the West Coast, Hardee's is actually part of Carl's Jr., or at least they're owned by Carl's Jr. I remember when that happened a while ago. But, yeah, the point being, shit's empty. People don't go out anymore. Everybody either goes to drive-through or orders delivery, which I don't think my hometown even has Postmates yet, but, same thing stands. And malls too. Our local mall is basically empty all the time anymore. I know one of the big things that killed it is we used to have a Walmart at my hometown mall, and they decided to move across the street into a bigger building, and unfortunately that killed pretty much all the business there. We used to have Herberger's and a JCPenney's, and those are gone now. All they really have for clothing anymore, and there is a Ross, which is just mostly cheap shit. But again, you're talking about a small town with unfortunately not a lot of opportunities. Yeah, it's one thing I've been, as much as I like, I really just go back for my family, because all my friends are, for the most part, moved out, and it's really just my mom and a couple other family members that still live in town. And it's a nice place, but I mean, there's just not a whole lot to do, really, except go out and get. One thing I do appreciate though is the cheap beer. Like I'll go to the bars downtown, and you can get a beer for like under $4, which is just completely unheard of around here. Around here, I'm lucky to get a beer for like $6. Most of the time, it's usually going to be more like $8 or so, literally double. Which I don't know where that comes from. I guess. Sorry, I'm getting distracted again. I'm sure that has a lot to do with rent, which is out of control around here. I'm sure you don't even really have to live here to understand that. But I don't know. Also, I lived in Omaha for a while, and I actually went last summer. I went back for my 10-year college reunion. And, it was kind of bullshit, because I was literally the only one who showed up out of a class of, just who knows how many. especially since I'm sure there's a lot of people who still live there. But I was literally the only one out of my class that went. And, well, what was interesting is I basically ended up hanging out with a bunch of people from the 1989 class, which is a good 20 years before my time. But, they were cool. And then I did have another friend that still lived in town. So I got to hang out with him for most of the weekend. But the point I'm getting to is, I went out to the old Westfield Mall out there, mostly just for, what's the word I'm looking for? Nostalgia's sake. And, I went around and hit up a couple spots, but, it was the same thing. It was basically empty. I mean, even whenever I was going there in college, this was like in the late aughts. I was in school from 05 to 09. Even then, it wasn't, a huge attendance. But now, I think I went from like one end to the other and only saw like a handful of people. And it's sad because, those are people's businesses, and, every mall was somebody's dream, and it's just kind of gone to shit now. I don't know. I personally like the idea of being able to, just go to one place for almost everything. And, you really don't get that a lot anymore. The nice thing is out here in the West Coast, out in LA, since we're, a real tourist city, it's still feasible to have, like the really big ass malls, and, they're still full of people, mostly, visiting or from more ethnic communities, but it's full of people. So, I like that. That's just me personally. But I like that. I think probably the saddest excuse for them all there's a couple. I also lived in Florida for a year after I originally went to college, because I went for a VFX school. And now they have a lot of dead-ass malls, right? But I remember I went to one in the middle of Orlando, and I only went once for a good reason, because it was like one of those places. It was a beautiful building, nice and open, had like some sculptures and stuff. I don't really remember that well anymore. I don't even remember exactly where it was. I just know it was close to one of the outlet zones, which is probably stealing all the business. But this was a newer place too, and there was basically nobody in there. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Hold on. Woo. We're leaving that in. But yeah, almost half the stores were empty. And by empty, I don't mean like, open but nobody in them. I mean like they were just the drywall panels with some coming soon shit painted across them. It was sad. I think the only thing I really remember, the only thing that even really stood out, they had like one of those vortex vending machines where you stand inside and a bunch of fans blow on you, and it's supposed to be like standing inside of a tornado, but it's really just a weak ass little bitch tornado. It's probably like I think that and like a shoe store. Which brings me to another one. I had a similar experience recently. Last time I went to Vegas, I went this back in January for a convention. Actually, a couple conventions. But on my way back, I decided to stop at the town of Primm, which I always stop there because it's like right at the edge of Nevada and California, or the border, that some people call it. And I always stop at the gas station there because it's like one of those really big ones where they have a bunch of a good convenience store. They got a Subway and a lot of gas pumps. But I remember on the other side of that, there's a casino and another mall that, I always, I by always, I mean never, I would never, it would pique my interest, but only after I'd already moved on, or more likely I had like other people with me, and I'm not going to drag somebody else's ass to a mall, but so I decided to, check it out for myself, and it was pretty much the same situation as the place in Orlando, where there was literally like a third of the store locations, or whatchamacallit, the vendor section. What the fuck would they be called? I don't want to say cubby holes because they're bigger, but only a third of them had anything in them, and most of the places, weren't. Well, I mean, it was just like basic stuff that would survive pretty much anywhere. Like they had a Nike store, which is kind of cool, or it was a Nike outlet, where, which basically means that you had to try the shoes on yourself. You didn't have anybody helping you out. But, obviously that could be there because it's too big to fail. And then they had like a couple other shoe places, and I don't even remember what, but it was like I was saying before, it was a really nice, beautiful building. Big open hallways. It was like an oval that went around, and they even had what I guess used to be like a food court area, but I don't think there weren't any restaurants open in there. There was nothing. And yeah, it was kind of one of the main entrances to the building, and they had like these big big sculptures, like a big like a tall man and a woman, and they were dressed in like a swimsuit and a swim trunks, because it was supposed to be like, hey, welcome to pool season or whatever. And again, this was in January, so it wasn't pool season, but I mean, it was completely empty, and it didn't look like anybody had really been there for a while. And there was even one section that was kind of like an art gallery type thing going on. I don't know how to describe it, but it was also empty, so it doesn't really matter. And but what's interesting is, I remember when I was not when I was in Vegas, but after I came back, I was telling some of my other friends that I had gone down there with about the place, and one of them was telling me that he had actually ended up stopping there one time because what exactly was it? It was during the winter, I believe. No. I remember what happened now. He was coming back from Vegas one night as well, coming back to LA. And I guess there was like a truck wreck along the road, the kind of, or something like that, like a really bad one. And he said that basically all the traffic was backed up to Prim, and I guess that mall kind of turned into like a refugee camp, which literally eventually devolved into a Lord of the Flies type of situation, minus some fat kid getting his brains bashed out with a rock. But it was bad, apparently. Like, one step to trash fires and barrels bad. But, well, I didn't have that experience. Yeah, it's probably a good thing I didn't. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the point being is, stuff like that, it's just kind of sad, because, it just feels like after a while, it just feels like a waste of space, and it's kind of a waste of money. But I do understand it, though, because I guess from what I understand, a lot of shopping malls are really just built as sort of like a tax haven for the owners in a lot of places. I don't really know the whole story. You'll have to look it up. I don't know. But you know what? Actually, I'll write it down in my show notes for next time. Okay, malls, tax haven. You know what? We'll figure that out next week or something like that. But, point being is for now, and some of those stores, some of the places that are in those malls, they're small businesses as well, and especially now, if you can get a delivery from them, help a motherfucker out. And I mean, it's also sad with the whole fast food thing, even though it's not good for you. But it sucks that a lot of those places are empty too. Well, not so much anything that's on a highway, but just kind of like those smaller ones that are in the middle of whatever town or city. There isn't really going to be anybody sitting around. The one, I mean, even a lot of the Taco Bells around here, which I'm not advocating that you should eat there, at least not if you're on any sort of diet. But a lot of them don't even have a sit down anymore. They're just you go in and maybe there's a couple tables like outside on a patio, but it's really more of just you go in and order and you get the fuck out. But I don't know, the one restaurant that I feel like kind of did it to themselves. I don't know how many people have ever been to a Dennys in recent years, but now one thing that's kind of unfortunate about a lot of restaurants and fad food. I mean, I guess they are kind of fad foods, but fast food places being closed is that not closed, but empty, is it creates an environment where you don't have a reason to have as many workers, and that just gets into the whole employment argument, which I don't want to really get into. But now, I don't know if you guys have ever been to a Dennys in recent years, but it feels to me that after the whole because California is one of the states that really pushed for the $15 minimum wage, which I appreciate, especially in my current situation. That helped me get some more money, but I feel like their response to that was just to basically hack their staff down to just a skeleton crew, especially at night, because nobody in their right mind goes to Dennys in the middle of the day. Maybe in the morning if you're working construction or something like that, but not in the middle of the day. So, but yeah, I sometimes after I go out, I'm a little fucked up, I'd go to Dennys in the middle of the night, and there would be maybe like one server to every 6 tables or so, and it's usually either somebody new or somebody who doesn't know English very well. No offense, but yeah, it would take. I think one time it literally took me a half hour to get my check after I was done eating. So you really gotta, you gotta like ask right away. And I don't know. The point being is it sucks, which is too bad because the food is usually okay, especially for drunk food, and even some of the portions are smaller. But yeah, it just sucks. Although what's funny is they also they're on the delivery train too, though, so I guess it's good for them. They're still getting business without having to fill up the place. Although, again, that's more jobs away. Yummy, yummy. But I know the last time that I was there, I went after work, and what was I gonna say? Actually, you know what? It's not a funny story at all. It's kind of a dumb story, but basically, somebody came in to order delivery, and they were angry about their hash browns. The argument was the hash browns looked old, but what really made it interesting is this wasn't a guy who was like normal angry. He was like passive aggressive angry, and to the point where yeah, it was ridiculous. He came in like, hey, like these hash browns they look too old, yada yada yada, and he made it sound, he was like, yeah, my friend said that she couldn't eat these, and he said it in a way where it was like a friend that he hoped would be like his girlfriend, but wasn't really. So basically, he was in the friend zone, and he was trying to flex on the Dennys staff on behalf of somebody who wasn't even there, by the way, and probably wasn't really into it. And it also didn't help that the server, who was also my waitress at the time, was like one of those girls who has like that really high annoying voice. And so she listened to this guy's complaint and goes back into the kitchen, and you can literally hear throughout the whole restaurant she's going on like, this guy's complaining about his hash browns. It was embarrassing for the guy, but he just kept leaning into it, and it also got to the point where these two kids, well, I say kids because they were probably in their 20s, which is, to me, that's, was a kid. But they were kind of laughing to themselves, and eventually they spoke up to the guy and like, hey, maybe you should, quit being a piece of shit to people trying to do their jobs. And when I say that he was passive aggressive, instead of being like, hey man, mind your own business, he would say shit like, oh, thanks for your opinion. Just some real bitch ass passive aggressive shit like that. He was real skinny too, so it was obviously like he couldn't throw down if he really needed to. But I think the best part was whenever the server got to those two guys' table, she asked one of the kids how he wanted his eggs. It's like, I want them old. And that nearly broke me, but I held it together because I'm a professional. And I was still in work mode. But so yeah, Dennys sucks, and fast food restaurants kind of suck now too, and so do malls. But I don't know. I think one thing that makes it sad for me is, since my mom's from Mexico City, so I got that. I still have that immigrant blood in me, which means I need to go walk around the mall every once in a while. Which is also another thing that sucks about this quarantine too, is I can't go get my steps in and feel up all the different clothes and shit at Macy's. My own little personal tragedy, which is also kind of a tragedy for my mom as well, because she's one of 6 kids, just three brothers and 3 sisters, and the thing is all 3 of the girls love Macy's. Because they got a big selection, and it's fairly cheap compared to a lot of other department stores. But the tragedy is that my mom lives in my hometown, and the other 2 live in Mexico City, none of which has a Macy's in it. So, yeah, it is a tragedy. I know a lot of you might not understand, but well, figure it out.